All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics on this Sunday. Let's jump right in with that big news out of Washington this week. On Tuesday, President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act. It's a sweeping $750 billion health care, tax, and climate bill, and what the president's supporters call a major accomplishment. Our Richard Essex caught up with Indiana Senator Mike Braun to ask about the bill, as Braun considers whether he wants to run for governor of Indiana.
Very first question, the Inflation Reduction Act. What's the impact so far?
Well, I think it remains to be seen, but when you title something like that, that generally means you're trying to get the point across, but what's in the details? So I think for many of us, when you spend that kind of money on top of just recently spending over $3 trillion, and we've created inflation at record levels not seen since the late 70s, early 80s, I don't know that spending more money, you should title it the Inflation Reduction Act. You got to remember, too, I've been there 3.5 years, and be careful when you look at these bills. All the spending is front-loaded. Most of the revenue that you're supposed to raise that pays for it generally comes in the tail end. So I think it's tricky when you're trying to talk about reducing inflation when you know the cause of it has been that we spent $3 trillion in the last year and a half on top of the $4 trillion back in March of 2020. And this is in addition to all the normal government spending we're doing. We know what caused inflation, and it was government spending and shutting down the productive side of the economy. And the results speak for themselves. So I think this is more trying to convince the public that some of the things they're wanting to do, it was mostly on climate. The rest of it was on paying for Obamacare stuff. And I've been the loudest senator on trying to reform health care. Just doing it in ways that don't involve more government spending, creating the inflation, maybe fixing the underlying problems.
Let's switch gears to the affidavit that a lot of Republicans have been wanting to see the whole thing, and some have wanted it to be kind of kept secret or kept redacted. Yep. The judge has given the DOJ a week to produce something. Yep. What do you think's going to be inside of that?
This is interestingly getting support from both ends of the spectrum. And I am always one that believes in 100% transparency. I think if you don't have that in government, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, you're trying to hide something. So this was unprecedented to do this. They know because they've agreed to do some things that explain it to the American public. And yes, it's going to come out sooner or later. And since this has become such a high-profile issue, and it's getting support from the right and the left, and it's starting to become more even into the middle, we need to see it sooner rather than later.
What do you think about former Governor, former Vice President Pence's statement that he might testify?
I mean, he is free to do whatever he wants, and all I can tell you is that we should respect law and order. I mean, they've got, I'm here talking about agriculture, between farmers and law enforcement, two very tough jobs. I think the confusion is you got to make sure, and I think Pence and Trump are wanting to take care of rank and file, but I think one is disregarding maybe leadership in agencies. And, you know, Trump might be wanting to hold them accountable. So I think you got to be careful because all of us, and I think that's on both sides of the political spectrum, are always going to be for rank and file, especially when it comes to jobs like military, police, even farmers at the rank and file level. Any issue. Leadership is a different case, and I think that all get flushed out over time as well.
Since you brought it up, you're at the fairgrounds.
Yep.
and you were talking agriculture, and your name's been tossed around as a possible candidate for governor. And
I'm surprised it took that long to ask. But anyway, soon after I got elected senator, I ran a business for 37 years. I am one that, as a Republican, weighed in on high cost of health care, started the Climate Caucus. I think we have to be a party that we're for something, not just the party of no. Whether I run for Senate again or whether I entertain that, I'm going to be for somebody that wants to promote clearly, transparently what we need to be for, and then use my entrepreneurial skills as not a career politician, but somebody that has gotten things done in the private sector, 3 years as a legislator, and I'll make that decision probably early next year.
what will trigger your decision to run for governor or not?
I mean, it's going to be accumulation of everything I've learned as the senator that got the most legislation through as a Republican in 2021, understands the system, big and in the details, compared against the time it takes to have real authority there. When you're one of 100, when you know you might be able to get more done back home in your own state. I'll have to weigh those two and come up with what I think makes sense for me, my family, and Hoosiers in general.
Sounds like you're kind of leaning that way.
Well, you said that. I'll take that comment along with all the others I get.
All right, we'll see what happens. Hey, we're now less than 1 month from Indiana's near total ban on abortion taking effect. And this week, for the first time, we hear Governor Eric Holcomb explain his decision to sign it and why he thinks there's still more to come.
This is an ongoing issue. It's been an issue for 50 years. I suspect it'll be an issue for 50 years to come. It will be affected by decisions in courthouses, in legislative state houses, in Congress, in the federal administration. This is to be continued. And what I always sought and will continue to do is try to reflect not just respect, but a civil discussion of this issue on which the spectrum is at odds over the very definition of life. And I don't know of anything more important or anything more near and dear to folks, regardless of what end of the spectrum you're on. And so my counsel would be going forward that we continue to have civil, respectful, thoughtful discussions. And if there's changes along the way, I said I believed it was progress. Some people believe it was the opposite of progress. Some people believe that it was not enough progress. And I respect that, honestly. And but I would just encourage folks to be very respectful. The only one thing I didn't particularly care for during the special session on this topic was the way some folks tried to appeal to others. And I think kind of yelling and screaming and threatening is counterproductive to one's own cause. And I think you can probably tap into and change hearts and minds if your opinions are more persuasive and compelling in a civil way.
Is it right to only give a victim of rape or incest 10 weeks to decide whether or not she's going to keep?
This is part of the progress and part of the progression of this very topic. And you could pick any week, any day, and argue on that day. But this was, in my opinion, progress. I do believe this is to be continued.
Given the amount of discontent we heard from Hoosiers on both sides of the abortion debate, how did you arrive at the decision to sign the bill so quickly?
Well, I told the legislature I wasn't going to dither. I said if this met my threshold of making progress, as maybe imperfect as it was, that I was going to sign it. I said that very early on. I didn't just say it to the legislature. I said that very early on with respect to the process that was It wasn't the reason I called a special session, as you all know, but it was an issue of some urgency to members in the General Assembly. And when it met that threshold, I signed it.
You say progress. Progress towards what? What, in your mind, in your opinion, should be the end goal of this work?
The bottom line is that it's progress towards valuing the sanctity of life and expressing it through law.
When you said progress toward protecting life, does that mean you joined some of your fellow Republicans in wishing that the rape and incest exceptions were not included in the final bill?
It means that we made progress, and it met my threshold of progress. And we'll take the next hypothetical in the months and years ahead, the next session and the next session and the next session. This will far outlive my tenure.
All right, coming up, Indiana's best political team talks about the raid on Mar-a-Lago and the fallout for the FBI. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics on this Sunday as we welcome back Republican Whitley Yates and Democrat Brian Gaddy. Good to see you both. I want to start by talking about the FBI raid and search on Mar-a-Lago and the fallout so far. Whitley, we'll come to you first this week. Do you want to see what's in that FBI affidavit? And are you worried that it might have damaging information?
No, I'm not worried that it might have damaging information. I think that there's not going to be enough information to constitute what happened at Mar-a-Lago. I think that, I'm going to be honest with you, Democrats have for a long time utilized the FBI for political gain. When we go back to the Hoover administration and how they utilized the FBI to destabilize movements specifically within the Black community, like COINTELPRO, where they were spying on their own citizens to destabilize the Black Panthers and other Black leaders such as Martin Luther King. And so I'm not surprised that we have seen these unprecedented moves from current President Biden's administration and Biden's FBI. But what I want to see within this probable cause affidavit is if there really is an investigation, or were they just going to retrieve documents that they say should have been returned? Because at first they were just stating that there were some documents needed for the National Archives that were supposed to be returned that weren't returned in a timely manner. And now the fact that they were, withholding the information from the probable cause affidavit leads me to believe that they may have been on a fishing expedition specifically with this raid at Mar-a-Lago.
Brian, your thoughts?
Well, you don't see any other presidents having their homes searched or raided, and actually the proper legal term is search. No one has conducted an FBI search at Jimmy Carter's house or Bill Clinton's or George W. Bush's or Barack Obama's house. Why is this happening with Donald Trump? Because Donald Trump is engaged in criminal activity. Donald Trump actually had nuclear secrets. Donald Trump was asked by the government, I believe that's the Archives Department of the government, to return those secrets. And he refused. They subpoenaed him, and he still didn't do it. And it took a search, and that's the proper term, a search for the government to recover these documents. So this is a national security issue. Republicans always pretend to be the party of national security when really they're not. We Democrats are, after all. As I like to say, we won World War I and World War II, since Whitley wants to quote history. Well, let's quote that history. Both world wars were won by us Democrats, not the Republicans. So let's quote that accurate history as well. And the fact is, we Democrats are the national security party. Donald Trump had these secrets. What was he going to do with these secrets? Was he going to sell them perhaps to Russia or Saudi Arabia, perhaps to earn some more money? Who knows? But the fact is, he was not supposed to have these documents. He had them. His house was raided. And it's just another example of Donald Trump's criminality.
Listen,
Whitley, you're smiling. Go ahead.
Conjecture. This is full of lies, fallacies, and fairy tales. When Hillary Clinton was deleting servers and deleting emails, no one searched her home. When Hunter Biden had a laptop filled with all types of things about United States security and illegal activity, the current Democratic administration has turned nothing but a blind eye to it. So now all of the sudden, we want to sic the FBI on a former president, which has never been done before, when previously Democrats have had some very sensitive information that they have not given up, or worse, deleted, exterminated, et cetera, especially when it comes to the current president and his son's dealings with other nations and how he's benefiting from business and doing illicit drugs. Like, there's so much that's happening specifically on the left, and there's no investigations happening. There's no raids or searches happening over there. But when it comes to the right, it's the full weight of the FBI.
All right, well, let's bring Brian in. Brian, 45 seconds left in this segment. Go ahead.
Well, we've had two criminal presidents in the history of our American Republic, and that's been Richard Nixon and Donald Trump, ironically both Republicans. So I would say to my Republican friends, stop engaging in criminal activity with your presidents. We've had some great presidents that have been Republicans, but we've had two doozies, as they say down south, that have been Republicans. That's Richard Nixon and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is engaged in criminal activity. Donald Trump look at the facts speak for themselves.
You have nothing to prove. Lies, fallacies, and fairy tales.
Well, the fact is Donald Trump is engaged in criminal activity, and there's no other president at the House.
No proof.
Okay.
So why is it Donald Trump is the only
Whitley,
president
Brian, love the passion. Stay with us. We have more on All Indiana Politics next here on Wish TV. We'll be right back. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics. Whitley and Brian back with us again. Thank you for staying with us. Let's talk midterm elections now, guys, because we're seeing new numbers suggesting that Democrats are gaining some momentum for the midterms. Brian, we'll start with you on this segment. The overall look seems to be improving, sir.
Absolutely. I know our colleague Mario always loves to talk about the red wave. Well, guess what, Mario? The red wave is petered out. And everyone knows the wave is always blue. We're not only going to hold the Senate, we're going to pick up Senate seats. You look all over the country, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia. All of our Democratic candidates are doing well in the U.S. Senate. So not only are we going to keep the Senate, we're going to pick up seats, and we're even doing well with the House.
Yeah,
so
Whitley, to Brian's point, the Senate does seem vulnerable.
The momentum is with us Democrats, no doubt about it.
Whitley, to Brian's point, the Senate seems vulnerable.
So, listen, I'm going to be honest. Democrats can use all the momentum that they can get, and that's just the truth. The pendulum swings both ways, because just a couple of weeks ago, it was swinging in Republicans' favor. And the truth is, right now, it can go either way. I think that a lot of American citizens right now are hopeful that the Inflation Reduction Act is actually going to decrease inflation. And so I think the polls are resulting in the hopefulness of what this policy is going to do. But as we know, and as we've seen time and time again with this administration, it's only going to take a couple of weeks, maybe even 30 days, for American people to start reeling from the taxes imposed, specifically in this act, on the middle class and beyond. And so what's going to happen is that pendulum that they feel is now swinging in their favor, that's going to create some type of blue no matter who wave, will swing right back in Republicans' favor once we begin to feel the effects of the negative policy.
We'll see what happens there. And Brian, I know you want to jump in, but I'm limited on time, so I want to take it back a little bit more local here and talk about the Marion County prosecutor's race. Does the FOP's no confidence vote mean much in this campaign? Whitley, we'll go to you.
Absolutely it does, because the prosecutor's office and the police department, they're supposed to work hand in hand. They're supposed to be almost a united front. And so to see this level of division, which I'm not surprised at with the current prosecutor we have as Ryan Mears, who doesn't like to prosecute or utilize the law to actually keep criminals locked up, could be a very, very difficult issue for him moving toward this election. You have Cynthia Carrasco, who's coming in hard with the support of the FOP, with the support of the police, and with a plan to get the exaggerated high crime rate.
Okay, I have a minute left, Brian. I want to get your take on the FOP's no confidence vote.
That's just a lot of grandstanding from Whitley as usual. The fact is, Prosecutor Mears is doing a great job. There's no doubt about it. He's doing well in the polls. Marion County is a Democratic county, and Prosecutor Mears will win. and Republicans need all the help they can get in this county because Marion County is a blue county. It's a Democrat county.
It is a Democratic county, but the homicides keep going up, crime keeps going up, mass shootings keep going up, and we don't have any type of solutions from Ryan Mears or any of the Democrats currently elected in the city of Indianapolis.
Prosecutor Mears, and he's doing a great job. He's going to win this election, and the Republicans will not win.
All right.
This is a blue county. It's a Democrat county.
We'll see.
When he wins,
we'll see what happens here in Marion County, and we'll see what happens on the national stage as well. Brian, good to see you. Whitley, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, and we'll be right back. And thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics this week. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30, and of course, always on our podcast network as well. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you throughout the week here on TV and online at wishtv.com.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.